According to Mark Twain, there are only two types of speakers in this world, the nervous and the liars. So today I'm going to be evaluating three of my peers' persuasive speeches, and although they might not be perfect because we're all nervous, I would say they're pretty good. So I'm going to be evaluating, the ones I decided to evaluate today were by Lydia Push, Mario Rodriguez Martinez, and Margaret Uterine. So I'm going to first start with Lydia's speech. She said that you should buy your clothes at thrift stores. That was her proposition statement. It was really cool. Her opening was super cool. She walked into her living room and with the song Thrift Shop by Macklemore playing. And I think that's super cool because my generation, everyone knows that song. Everyone knows it's about thrift shops and everyone knows what she's going to be talking about today. And like I said, her proposition right after that was you should buy your clothes at thrift shops. Thrift shops. All right. She had three main points in her speech. One was community. One was acquiring that dough, incorporating some humor in there, and then also nature. She also incorporated all 5 parts of sense into her speech. So although I'm not going to delve into every single part, I will give a few examples of each. So for the C part of sense, which is comparisons, she compared thrift stores and fast fashion. She showed us a video of how bad fast fashion is, how poorly they treat their employees and other things like that. And then she also looked at Goodwill versus retail and how much cheaper it is there to be shopping at Goodwill versus retail. That actually brings me to my next point of the E in sense, which is explanations. So under the acquiring that dough part, she talked about how when she went to this thrift store, the outfit she was actually wearing as her prop, she saved $108 by buying it at a thrift store. So that's super cool, and I really like that outfit. The next part was of sense is N, which stands for numbers. So although I've already thrown in a few numbers, I'll throw in a few more stats. One that stood out to me was 1 in 275 people in the U.S. were placed into jobs with the help from their local Goodwill. So I had no idea about this. I've heard a lot of negative things about Goodwill and other things like that. I didn't know they were helping the community so much. Super cool to me. The next part of sense is T, which is testimonials. So she had a testimonial from a man named Dylan, who apparently was going down the wrong path, and Goodwill helped him change his life around. So I think that's really cool. And then last part of sense is stories. The S, which is stories. So her story personally is that I think she shopped at Goodwill and she was able to experience all these positive things about it, and especially where she went and bought this outfit and saved $108. My favorite argument from this speech was that you should shop at thrift stores instead of retail. She did a really good job at showing the benefits of recycling fashion. She told us that just for one single T-shirt, it's 2,700 liters of water, and that's enough to quench a person for 2.5 years. That incorporates a lot of logic into the speech, which is super cool. She also said that 85% of textiles that were used up in landfill, or that we use, end up in landfills. So that's another super awesome thing. And then, well, not awesome, but an awesome thing for her speech. And then most of the garments she said that we wear are synthetic, which means they aren't biodegradable. So that was a super convincing argument to me, and I really like that. The closing statement for Lydia's speech, she did an awesome job with the whole close. She reiterated all her points, she reiterated her proposition, and then she wrapped it up with a similar vibe to what she started with, which was Macklemore. So she ended up with a quote that she said, you should shop at thrift stores because Macklemore would agree because it's effing awesome. So I think that just my favorite part of the speech was actually how she incorporated all that Macklemore into her, because for my generation, he's such an idol, and she was able to incorporate his support throughout her entire speech, which I think was super beneficial. I think Lydia could have possibly had more of a open stance, so like opening her shoulders. She was a little hunched over her paper, playing with her paper a little bit. I think she definitely had some nerves in her voice because I think we're all nervous. This is hard. I think she was her eye contact I think was good, but I think she was looking at her mom versus the camera, so it didn't feel directed at me or us, but I think that's just something we're going to have to get used to. The next speech that I'm going to be discussing is the one by Mario Rodriguez Martinez. This is the one that is talking about kind of like the benefits of the quarantine on everything. So his attention getter was actually super cool and creative. So he had a picture of a living room, and then he had bars over it. He said, he had said something along the lines of, are you feeling like trapped? Are you feeling like you're in a jail cell right now? And that was an immediate target to everyone that's in this situation, because we are kind of all trapped in our houses and stuff like that. So his proposition was saying that quarantine will help you lower pollution, save money, and unite us as people. So his main points were pretty much the same thing, saying that pollution, money, and unify. He also incorporated all 5 parts of his sense, just like Lydia did. And so the C, an example of the C was he had maps that had the amount of greenhouse gases on them and like the difference between pre-quarantine and post-quarantine. So that was super cool. Explanation and examples, he had those after every single point. Numbers, the main number I saw in there was the $464 that he saved by being in quarantine when he typed in his own numbers. Testimonials, there was one by Lupus that said, hope is the ultimate enabler of trust, and that was talking about unifying us as a people and how hope is something we have to hang on to. And in stories, I would say that his main story was how he incorporated his own numbers to find the $464 that he would be finding or saving during quarantine. I think Mario's best argument in his speech was when he was talking about the benefits of quarantine on the greenhouse gases, because he was arguing that quarantine is good for the earth because people aren't polluting it anymore. And yeah, so super beneficial there because people aren't polluting this earth anymore. And we see a lot of negative things towards the human race, but in the rest of the world, it seems to be beneficial, like we saw with the greenhouse gases in the maps that he showed us. Mario closed with saying that, so hopefully as things start settling down, your living room will start to feel more like a living room and less like a jail cell. So that's super cool because he brought back the intro into the opening. He took away the jail cell thing. So I think that was super creative of him, super awesome, stuck with me. Mario, I would say, used his space very well. He obviously in a camera range, we don't have a lot of space. So he was walking side to side from his TV and stuff like that. His eye contact, I think, could have improved a little bit, and his gestures seemed a little bit nervous, but I guess that's all right. We're all in the same boat pretty much. I think overall he had a super complete speech, and he well thought out, well, researched like he generally does have. My favorite part of the speech was probably how he incorporated pathos, which was in those videos of those people singing. That definitely pulled down my heartstrings and did really awesome there. And like I said, I really loved the close and open. I think they really stuck with me and super creative, as I've said many times before. I would say, though, for an improvement on a speech would be it's pretty specific, but to be more talking about the greenhouse gases, and don't just assume people know what they are. Say that they come from humans, they come from cars, they come from things like this, and just explain that a little bit more, elaborate versus just expecting knowledge. So that's pretty much it for Mario's speech that I'm going to be talking about. So like I said, the next speech was by Margaret. Like I said, she was talking about how she believes that blood donations should be required. Her attention getter was just pulling at her heartstrings, so pathos. She talked about, imagine if this were to happen to you. Imagine if your cousin had leukemia. Imagine if your dad needed a heart surgery. I don't know if those were the specific examples, but it was something very similar to this. Her proposition statement was that donating blood should be required for healthy people. Her main points were addressing needs for blood donations, solutions that would increase blood donation, and then actions needed to increase blood donations. She also incorporated, like everyone else has, the 5 parts of sense. For the C part that I'm going to discuss, aka the comparisons, she said that 60% of Americans can donate blood, but only less than 5% actually do it, versus the 1 in 7 people who walk into the hospital needing blood. So she liked to show that huge gap between what we need and what we have. And then for the explanation and examples, she gave a bunch of for the solutions that could increase blood donation. She gave examples saying that there has been incentives to donate blood, like gift cards, coupons, things like that. And then also providing us with a cool video showing us what they show new donors when they might be a little scared. For the N, aka numbers part of sense, she said that 60% of Americans are able to donate blood, but less than 5% do. I already said that, but that's one of the big ones that stuck out to me. The T part, aka testimonials, is from a philanthropist, someone that takes your blood. I can't remember the name. She said that that person said that 1 in 7 people who went to the hospital will need blood. So that's where that stat came from. And then lastly, I'd say her stories was maybe her experiences when she was donating blood. She kind of incorporated that she did. That's where her credibility came from. I think Margaret's closing statement was super powerful. She said, "Pay it forward because who knows, maybe someday you will be the one in dire need." I think that was super powerful. Like, it stuck with me, stuck with us. Maybe I didn't agree with all of her speech, but I do believe that donating blood is important. That definitely reiterated that and made me remember why I do it and other things like that. I think she had a pretty complete speech. It was a little shaky in some parts because she was focused more on her paper and reading that to us versus other things like that. I think her tone was pretty monotone and I was struggling to stay focused because the lack of attention to us. I would say that her main strength was that she had a pretty well thought out presentation. I think her points were good, even if they were something that maybe I didn't so much believe in. Also, I think it was super cool that she was able to get that interview because I think that was huge and made her speech a lot more credible. I think the main improvement I could say is I think she missed a huge point talking about maybe our rights and what requiring blood donations from healthy people could do to us, because I think having a right to your own body and even your own blood is super important for us as humans, and that shouldn't be something required, because then where does it stop? Maybe you should be required to donate a kidney and stuff like that. So I think those are the boundaries. Yes, I do believe more people need to donate blood, but a boundary like that definitely needs to be set. So in conclusion of my speeches on other people's speeches, I think everyone did a great job. I listened to quite a few. I got super interested in them, and it was hard for me to narrow down these ones, but these are the ones that I watched a few times because I liked a lot of the information. And everyone did a great job and with the circumstances and things like that. So thank you.